Hey guys, it's Ivan from Indoor Ivan. Welcome back and happy fall. It's starting to get a little cold now, so it's a great time to bring in your plants. Usually I wait until it's 10 degrees at night or lower. So I do have my own process for bringing in plants. If you live in a house, chances are that you put your plants outside and they're pretty in close contact with soil, so you might get like ants and earwigs that might crawl in and venture into your planters. So it is quite important to make sure that you're not bringing those inside your house. If you live in a condo and you have a balcony that's maybe 15 stories up, chances that you run into problems like ants and earwigs. Not so much, but it's better safe than sorry. So the first thing that I like to do is to check my plants. So I'll look under the leaves, make sure that there are no bugs like spider mites or aphids that are there, and pick off any dead debris that might be present. Because that's a place that bugs can end up staying, so you want to make sure that you get rid of those. So once you're done with that, over a span of a week, I like to wash my plants. So if you're in a house and you have a hose, just take out that hose and you can start spraying down your plants. Make sure that you get the undersides of your leaves, because that's quite important. And as well, just wash the pot. Any spiders that might be there, you can wash those away. If you're in a building and you don't have the luxury of a hose to kind of wash everything down, you can always bring them into the shower. If you are bringing plants into the shower, make sure that you're washing the undersides of the leaves, not just the top, because a lot of bugs do tend to hide under there. And it's just a great way to clean those leaves, make sure that they're free of dirt and dust when they're coming in, especially as we're getting less sunlight with winter approaching. Washing all those leaves is also great because it saves on insecticidal soap. So as you're washing all those bugs away that might be present on your plants, you're not using a lot of chemicals at the same time, which is not great for the environment or your budget. So wash your plants. Before I forget, it's also a great time to prune any branches on your plants that might be getting too big. So for example, my ficuses grew quite a bit over the summer. If I couldn't get them through the door, I would probably need to prune them. Luckily, they all managed to fit in, so that's great. So also make sure to prune anything that just looks kind of weird. If you don't need to prune, of course, don't do it. A lot of the plants are slowing down now that it's getting colder, so keep that in mind as well. So now that your plants have been thoroughly washed and showered and hopefully bug-free, you also have to make sure to check the soil. If you don't think there are any bugs in your soil, then you should be okay. If you are concerned, like I am, with a lot of plants I put on the ground or just really close to the grass or something, I like to submerge my plants in water. There are videos out there where people plunk the entire plant in the water. I don't tend to do that just because my soil has a lot of perlite. If I was to plunk my entire plant in, I would end up having lots of perlite floaties and it would just be a horrible disaster. And to fill up my containers of water just to meet the soil level. So just enough so that way the bugs in the soil realize that they're kind of drowning in water and need to get out, and they're able to kind of float and crawl out of the soil and into the water. If you tend to go a little higher, you might get some of that soil floating around. It's up to you. If your soil's pretty heavy, like if you have gritty mix or if it's an orchid bark that's pretty solid, you can fill it up more. But for me, I just tend to meet it at soil level just to keep it a little bit cleaner. So usually I like to leave it sitting in water for about 15 minutes or so, just enough time to get those bugs to come out and crawling. Once you're done having it sit in water, take it out of the water bucket and let it drain. Don't bring it inside after it drains right away. It's just because there might be some few bugs that might have straggled along and forgot that they were drowning or something, and needed to escape. So make sure that they have a chance to crawl out. Don't put it back in the same spot where you had it, just because if there were ants there, you might get more ants coming back in. So find a new place for it, hopefully more elevated and away from the soil and the bugs, and let it dry and drain. Once you've done like the soil treatment portion of bringing in your plants, you pretty much should be bringing them in soon, just because you don't want any more bugs to be going back into that planter. So that final step that you need to do is using some sort of insecticidal soap, just to get rid of any bugs that might be staying. Any eggs that might have been there might have hatched, and you might have more pests to deal with. So there are some things that you can use depending on what you have. I'm trying to see here, like if you have, like I use this Safer's product, so if you have any powdery mildew, try to control it before you bring it inside. I like to use that for a few of my plants. Some people tend to use like oils, so if you have, this one's a horticultural oil, but if you have like a neem oil and that's what you use, feel free to use that. I don't tend to use oils as much because you have to mix things and stuff, so I tend to use insecticidal soaps. It just happens that at my work they had Safer's. Usually any insecticidal soap will work. Make sure that you spray this in a ventilated area, and remember that when you're spraying you need to make contact with the bugs. If you're not contacting the bugs, or the bugs aren't in contact with this soap, they're not going to die and they're going to hang around. So make sure you do a good job. Follow the instructions. Usually you'll have to repeat this process for 2 to 3 weeks on a weekly basis. So don't just spray it once and then assume that they're all gone. Keep on top of it for at least a couple weeks just to make sure that there aren't any bugs that are there. Because for me, dealing with spider mites is awful. There was one year I had a citrus tree and I dealt with spider mites for pretty much the entire winter because I wasn't on top of it. So make sure that you are checking your plants after they come in, maybe every other day, just to see what's going on, because in the right conditions those pests will multiply without any predators eating them. So yeah, keep on top of it. So that's how I bring in my plants. I'm not sure if you bring in your plants similar to how I do it, or if there's something different. If you have anything different, I'm kind of curious as to what you do, so you can always leave it in the comments below. So yeah, winter's coming, and that's not fun. But we have fall to enjoy and Halloween, and you have your pumpkin spice latte for a little bit. Yeah. Anyways, till next time.